Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
This week we're going to be talking about Victory Gardens, and we'd like to thank Gabrielle Lidgerman for sharing a tip we had for using mayonnaise to remove the adhesive from stickers on surfaces. And you can check it out in the April 6th issue of Woman's World magazine. And we appreciate all the feedback we've gotten for our 11th ebook. It's called Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know. It's on Amazon for only $1. And if you've downloaded a copy, we'd be grateful if you could leave a review on Amazon. It helps with Amazon suggesting it to new readers. I read an article from the National Garden Bureau encouraging the concept of a Victory Garden 2.0.
What is that?
So like an updated version of the Victory Garden. And I spoke to them this week and got some garden tips. Green America has a campaign for a climate victory garden, encouraging homeowners to plant a garden to help reduce carbon emissions while growing safe, healthy food that's less expensive. Green Prince magazine is encouraging people to stay at home and plant a garden for the mental and physical benefits. And Green Prince magazine is put out by Becky Stone and Pat Stone, who is a co-author of Chicken Soup for the Gardener's Soul and was the garden editor at Mother Earth News magazine. Pat said if you're getting started with vegetable gardening, to do some research before you start and pay attention to what grows well in your area, what things are easy to grow, and when to plant them. Choose a sunny spot when you're setting up your garden with 6 to 8 hours of sun a day, and you can cut off the existing growth with a spade, or you can rent a rototiller. Work in a little bit of fertilizer. Consider some form of fencing to deter animals. Many plants will do well started from seeds. Others grow better if you put in seedlings, so that'd be part of your research. Water as needed. Plants need about an inch worth of rainwater a week. Weed early and often, and hand pick insects. If you have to, use an organic pesticide. And if you have questions, ask somebody local or knowledgeable in your area. And you can check out Green Prince magazine at Green Prince. It's GreenPrints.com. One definition I saw for a victory garden is a home garden cultivated to increase food production during a war or in times of food shortages or tough economic times. In 1917, after President Wilson declared war on Germany, he promoted personal gardens and created the United States Food Administration, saying food will win the war. The Bureau of Education developed the School Garden Army, educating school children to plant gardens at home with their parents, and they estimated more than 5 million private gardens were planted in the U.S., producing more than 1.5 billion quarts of fruit and vegetables that were canned and stored. And during World War I, they were calling the gardens war gardens, and then at the end of the war, they changed it to Victory Gardens.
Much better name.
During World War II, the U.S. Department of Agriculture estimated there were more than 20 million U.S. gardens. Wow. And by 1944, Victory Gardens were responsible for producing 40% of all vegetables grown in the U.S.
That's great.
Yeah, amazing. One study that they did at the time reported that people were eating better in the U.S. during the war because of the Victory Gardens, and gardening provided an outlet for fear and anxiety. The American Institute of Stress says gardening and the low-impact exercise can help reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. Growing your own food helps encourage eating more fresh vegetables without potentially harmful additives or preservatives, and you should be careful what pesticides or fertilizers you're using.
Right.
Look for organic or OMRI-listed products. And exposing your hands and your body to bacteria in the soil and other microorganisms actually helps your body become more resilient to some infections. Interesting, huh? But you want to make sure that you're thoroughly washing your hands after you've been in the garden, and especially before you eat.
Well, because it was in dirt?
Spending time outside exposes your body to sunlight, causing your skin to manufacture vitamin D, which helps with stronger bones. It reduces the risk of some cancers. You just don't want to get a sunburn. And it's also good for your immune system in general. Spending time outside in a garden has shown to reduce cortisol levels in people, which is a stress hormone that can be damaging to your body. The University of California likes the idea of this Victory Garden revival. They say people are becoming more concerned about their overall health and the health of our food system and want to know exactly where their food comes from. And they say it's important for kids to know where food comes from and how to make nutritious decisions. And they say it's great for getting kids out to dig, to plant, to water, and weed.
Right.
And it's a nice hobby to have with your children.
It's good.
An article from the BBC said a recent study by Australian researchers found that men and women in their 60s who regularly gardened had a 36% lower risk of dementia compared to non-gardeners. The University of Hawaii said a common hobby with people who live to 100 in Okinawa is gardening. The centenarians that they studied said gardening gives you something to get up for. They share the crops with family and friends. Many of them still go to the local market and interact with people. So they're getting mental and physical stimulation, sunlight, stress relief, low impact exercise, and they're eating more vegetables with less chemicals. You can grow a garden in the ground, in raised beds or containers, and if you plan on digging into the ground for your garden, you should call 811 before you dig, and that call center will notify all the local utility companies. They'll come out and mark your yard with the locations of all the utilities. They're usually putting flags up. They might spray the grass. It usually takes 3 to 4 days before all the companies get out there, so you should confirm how long it takes in your area, and then you can plan your garden around it. Many utility companies want you to stay 18 to 24 inches away from all the marked areas, and you should be calling 811 before you do any type of digging in your lawn, even for like a shrub or other plants, because internet cable and some other utilities can be just a couple of inches under the surface. So it'd be a real drag if you're out there with your shovel. I got some garden tips from the National Garden Bureau. They've been around since 1920, and their founder wrote the Victory Garden Manual in 1943. They're a non-profit organization that educates people about plants and gardens, and you can check them out at ngb.org. They shared some tips that have been adapted from their 1943 Victory Garden Manual. Plan the location of your garden. You want the area to have 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight a day. Make a list of all the items your family likes and what you use a lot in recipes, and then study those plants so you can decide which are grown easier in the spring from seeds, which plants would grow better from seedlings, and then what plants can be replaced with fall plants so that way you have a longer growing season.
Cool.
Know your growing zone. Look at your area online. You want to know when the date of the last frost is in your area so you know when it's safe to plant seeds and seedlings.
Right.
Improve your soil by adding organic matter. Start composting, and now you can amend the soil. You can use it as a compost to top dress your garden. For raised beds and containers, use a quality gardening mix. Pay attention to the spacing and depth when you're planting seeds and seedlings. Use supports on plants that need it. And have your garden rows north to south in the U.S. And that'll give you better sunlight.
Good.
If this is your first in-ground garden, we've talked about this before, a good starting size is 4 foot by 4 foot with 24 inches on each side. That way you can reach into and work on your garden from any side. And you want to have it in an area that's sunny. The University of California says full sun is ideal for all vegetables, but you should be checking the seed packet labels or the label on seedlings for each plant.
Okay.
For a family of 4, a garden that's 16 feet by 14 feet is a good size, and a popular layout is 2 rows that are 4 foot by 16 feet with 2 feet between them, and then 2 feet on each side of the rows. That way it's easy to work in the garden. In the 1943 Victory Garden Manual, they recommended a small garden of 50 feet long and 30 feet wide. And they suggested planting in spring and summer. So they had a lot of experts who worked on this manual. And their suggestions for the plants where you would get the best success. In spring, they said plant parsley, parsnips, carrots, kale, cabbage, turnips, onions, collards, peas, lettuce, beets, chard, beans, cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, eggplant, okra, corn, pumpkin, squash, melons, sweet potatoes, and regular potatoes. And then in summer for fall, plant broccoli, potatoes, kale, turnips, endive, beans, cauliflower.
Did you just see above list?
No, they have a couple different things. So endive, beans, cauliflower, cabbage, and spinach. What an amazing amount of food, and they were introducing a lot of Americans to food or vegetables they have never tried before. Mm-hmm. And like that one article said at the time, many Americans are eating much better now during the war because of these gardens.
Nice.
If this is your first year for a new garden, amend the soil for your plants by adding organic matter like compost. You'd add 3 to 4 inches of compost to the top of the soil and then till it down 4 to 6 inches. Deeper is better. After the first year, you don't have to till compost in anymore. You just add a couple of inches of compost to the top of your garden every year. And by adding this organic matter, it's going to loosen clay soils, increasing air movement and allowing water to drain. It's promoting better root growth. In sandy soils, by adding organic matter, it's going to help hold moisture and nutrients for your plant's roots. The organic matter is also making your soil healthier, increasing microorganisms and worms, which are breaking down nutrients so they're easily absorbed by your plants, making them healthier. Another benefit of adding compost to the top of your garden every year is it slows down evaporation of water in the soil. It regulates the soil temperatures, and it helps prevent weeds from germinating.
Right.
The University of California says for U.S. gardens, put the taller plants on the north side of your garden and the shorter plants on the south side. So if you're making a map of your garden, lay out your plants based on the heights so the smaller plants don't get shaded by the taller ones.
Smart.
And then use the size of your plants with the suggested spacing so the plants have plenty of airflow between them. It's going to help prevent disease. You're going to have healthier growth. Most gardens will benefit from some fertilizer. Organic fertilizers add organic matter to the soil, so it makes your soil healthier. It helps feed the microorganisms. OMRI-listed fertilizers don't have synthetic chemicals, sewage, irradiated substances, or genetically engineered material.
What is an organic fertilizer?
It's made from something that was alive. Some will have feather meal in it, bone meal, blood meal. I've seen cottonseed meal, worm castings.
Yuck.
You should do some research on rotating your crops over time with an in-ground garden because different plants will draw different nutrients from the soil and deplete those in an area. So it's actually healthier if you rotate it. Most plants will need 1 inch of water a week. If you're in a hot climate or if the weather is hot and windy, you may need 2 inches of water a week. Generally, temperatures over 85 degrees for long periods, you're going to need more water. But the key is looking at your plants. If the leaves look wilted, they probably need water. You should be buying high-quality seeds and seedlings. Many professionals suggest that new gardeners should just be using seedlings. That way you're going to get instant gratification from working in your garden, and you're going to have a higher rate of success. And make sure you check the spacing, what's recommended. Vegetables need space for air and sunlight and enough room that they're getting adequate water and nutrients from the soil. For an in-ground garden, you should have a good quality garden spade and a hoe, some top-rated companies for shovels, Fiskars, Fiskars, A.M. Leonard is just the letter A period, the letter M period, Leonard, Leonard. Razorback, it's Razor, capital Back. Corona, Corona. Ames, Ames. And True Temper, some top-rated hose come from Bully Tools. It's BULLYTOOLS. Worth Garden, WORTH, Ames, and Razorback. And if you want to use a cordless drill and not have to dig, Power Planter has a variety of garden augers to dig holes and break up soil for your seedlings, and they're at powerplanter.com.
Cool.
If you don't have great soil or you don't want to till compost down 6 inches, you can build a raised garden bed.
What's that?
So it's a frame that you sit on top of your lawn and you fill it with potting mix. It raises your plants up so they're easier to work on. And you want it to be at least 6 inches deep. 12 inches deep is a popular size. If you're building your own using wood from the home center or a lumber yard, 2x12 lumber is easy to work with. You can put hardware cloth under the frame to keep out pests, and it's going to allow worms and microorganisms to come up into the potting mix, and it's going to be healthier for your plants.
Right.
Look at the root depth of the plants that you're going to be growing. Some tomatoes need 2 feet or more for healthy roots. Yeah. And a taller garden bed is going to be easier to work on. A popular amendment mix to put into your bed is 1/3 compost, 1/3 peat moss, and 1/3 vermiculite or perlite. You're going to mix that up real well, put it in there. It's very lightweight. It's going to allow moisture and air to get to the roots, and your roots can grow larger, so they're going to absorb more nutrients. With a raised bed and a soil-free growing mix like this, you're going to have less weeds and disease. If you plan on building your own raised bed, keep the width around 4 feet wide. That way it's easy to reach in from both sides. Some top-rated garden beds come from Earth Easy. It's EARTH, capital EASY. Frame It All, FRAME, capital IT, capital ALL. Grownomics, it's GRONOMICS. And Greenland Gardener. If you're in a condo or a townhouse or you want to grow a small amount of plants on a patio, you can do vertical gardening in a garden container with a tower style. So 3 popular tower style systems are Mr. Stacky, Tower Garden, and Garden Tower 2.
Right.
Which is interesting. So Mr. Stacky is MR.STACKY. And then you have Tower, TOWER, Garden, and Garden Tower with the number 2. And these are container gardens that you fill with potting soil. They have openings all along the sides so you can put in seeds or seedlings. So it's a very easy way to grow quite a few plants in one small area.
Yeah, it's cool.
You can grow vegetables in individual containers on a patio or spread these out in a landscape area. In a large 8 to 12 inch container, you can grow a lot of popular vegetables. One gardener had a list of vegetables that grow well in large containers. He said this is a good list for new gardeners. Beans, beets, carrots, eggplant, onion, peas, radishes, spinach, cherry tomatoes, turnips, and lettuce.
Do you have anything else to add?
If you're looking for something to do around the house...
Everybody is.
Yes, so starting a garden has a lot of mental and physical benefits. And I saw a Chinese proverb. If you want pleasure for 1 hour, get a bottle of wine. If you want pleasure for 1 year, get married. If you want pleasure for a lifetime, start a garden.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, CastBox, or your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our ebooks, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 11 on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter at FixItCohost, and you can follow us on Instagram, Fix It Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.